Okay, so today's speaker is not unknown to this group. He's quite famous and infamous, and we're glad he's feeling much better from his diversion into yesterday. So let's welcome our pastor and spiritual leader, Reverend Brian Walker.
So I want to acknowledge the inspirational reader for today, because that takes a lot of chutzpah to get up here without any kind of notes. You know what I mean? She's got it though. She's got the chutzpah. So Jack Benny likes to tell the story of the time that he was accosted by a masked robber who had a gun. Says, "Your money or your life." So there's a long pause, and the gunman sticks out says, "Well?" And Jack says, I'm thinking. I'm thinking. It's a big decision here. Because our theme is prosperity. And, we live in a consumer culture. So what does that mean? It means that a lot of our economy depends on all of us buying and consuming things. Really very important. It means that it's really kind of materialist oriented, about having stuff and about our sense of self and how we evaluate and think about other people, about the stuff that we have. Whether it's the latest electronics or your car, or your fashions, your hairdo, whatever it is, we have a lot invested in that stuff. So it also means that we typically live lives that are very busy. It's a kind of a culture where everything is speeded up. Have you noticed that about your life? Rich is always the counterculture guy. We can count on him for that. But that's not an accident, because one of the things that's really important in a kind of culture that's a consumer culture, that we keep on consuming, is we want to be distracted from our real essence. So in other words, our superficial ego kind of self gets a lot of attention about what we have and all that kind of stuff. But the deeper part of us doesn't get so much attention, and it's for a very important reason. And that is, when we get in touch with our true nature and the essence of our being, we realize that we've always got enough. Enough is a curse word in a consumer culture. We have whole industries based on marketing that are designed to tell you you don't have enough. And, we sometimes buy into that in real subtle ways that, we're not aware of. But the truth of the matter is, and there are sociologists and all the other kind of people who study this stuff, but the material stuff, the keeping up with whatever the current fashion is, whether, what the latest version of the iPhone is or whatever. You remember a number of years ago, these young kids who were fighting over and killing themselves over these Air Jordans. I mean, it's a message that they get from our culture, is that this is who you are. And if you have a pair of these shoes, you're at the top. Anyway, so it doesn't deliver. Another way to think about it is, your money or your life, to have or to be. To have or to be. Is having the important thing, or is being what's important? Um, so, so when I think about prosperity, I think, what does New Thought teach about prosperity? And one of my favorite ways that it's languaged is what Jesus said on the Sermon on the Mount. And he said, seek first the kingdom of God, and all these things will be added to you. Now you can kind of see that that's like changing the X-ray picture. You know what I mean? What's in the foreground and what are you looking at from what a consumer culture is? Because if we're in a consumer culture and we're thinking about being all of the distractions that there are to keep us from what's really connected to our deepest self, this is a different approach. What is our deepest nature? How do we get in tune with that? And how do we live from that energy? Seek first the kingdom of God, and then all the other stuff will be added to you. So what do we teach? That we're unique expressions of God made manifest, and that we have all the resources, and that we're here to unfold more of God's goodness in our lives. We are God's hands and feet, and as we live our lives, that's part of the gift that we give to creating heaven on earth, to building a society that really serves everybody. So we're each called to be the presence of God in this world, and we each have unique gifts and talents that we can cultivate and that we have to offer the human family and the planet. So one of the other things that Jesus said on the Sermon on the Mount, he said, "Give and it shall be given unto you." So that we're here to be a part of this cycle of giving and receiving. And the more that we give, the more that we get. And that's, kind of counterintuitive to the consumer society, because we're really focused on getting stuff and having stuff, keeping our stuff, storing our stuff, all of those things. I just recently got rid of a storage locker that I've had for 5 years anyway, so it happens. These things, it's kind of subtle, but these things happen to you, and you kind of get caught up in this. And I had some stuff I didn't want to let go of, and so anyway. But so what are we here for? It's for our soul's journey to unfold the beauty that each of us have and that we each have to offer to each other. And so as we build our capacity to do that we do give the gift of ourselves, and it is a beautiful thing. So we engage one another, and particularly in a community like this, we call forth to one another to be who we truly are, to know that true prosperity is expressing ourselves to the fullest degree. So I have a story I want to tell you, a true story. It's about a man named David, and as a child, he used to when he was supposed to be in bed, he used to run out into the field next to his house and run and jump and dance and pirouette and stomp and just really express physically what was in his nature. And so he definitely was not supposed to be out at that time. I mean, this is when he was, around 6 years old. His parents had a very strict code for him, and that was something he definitely shouldn't be doing. But the kind of enthusiasm and the kind of joy that engendered in him, it just made it okay. He just was kind of in tune that this is really what I should be doing, even though it's kind of risky. And David's dancing could have easily ended in that field because his parents had plans for him. And it was that he was to become like his father, a lawyer. And becoming a dancer was just not in the cards, especially for a boy. So, and so over the next couple of decades, as he's growing up, people who cared for him confronted him about, the practicality of being a dancer and all of the kinds of things that we hear that say that, you can't do this. It's not practical. You don't have the whatever, the resources, whatever that might be. And David was very diligent at school, and he was a very good student, so he was an excellent candidate to become a lawyer. And his parents reveled in that's great, he's going to go on to this. But he had this really consistent urge to follow what his body was telling him, and he could hear that. Now, fortunately for David, after he started college, he ran into an astrologer who recognized the meaning of the conjunction in Venus, Mercury, and Jupiter in David's 10th house. Now, that might not have a lot of meaning for you folks, but it does for the astrologers. And basically, the message that he got was, it would make a lot more sense for you, based on what the stars say, for you to have a career in art as opposed to having a legal career. And David listened to that. He changed his major, and he went on to, after years of persistent trying, to join a modern dance company, had a successful dance career, and fulfilled that part of his soul's journey. And he was very satisfied, because that dancing expressed the essence of who he truly was. You might say it was part of the wiring of his soul. It was a true heart's desire. So discovering and fulfilling your personal destiny is challenging and rewarding at the same time. But when you find your path in life, and you're in sync with the primary missions of this lifetime, things just fall into place. It's not that life doesn't have its challenges, because we all experience that. But life feels, there's just something that fits, and it feels good, and that we have, and we feel confident that we can deal with what life brings us. So there are three characteristics that I think that David demonstrated that serve us all well. And one of those was faith. So he had this really deep, abiding faith that what his body was telling him was somehow really important. And he had this intuition that this is something that was really meant for him. He had faith that the universe was supporting him in expressing this energy that he had. He had faith in that. He had faith that he could live out his destiny and to really honor his soul's journey. The second thing was that David had courage, because that's something that we all need to overcome our own inner fears, those things, again, a lot of times that we got told that we were inadequate about. But also what we get told from our society, family, wherever it comes from, that says, no, that's not the right thing. This is not for you. To have the courage to say, yeah. So David had the courage to say, to deal with his parents and say, this is not my path. I'm following my own path. That takes a lot of courage to do that. And he had that. And the last thing he had discipline. Because if you're really going to do well at something, it's something that you need to invest your time and energy and your resources in. You need to do the work, even if you've got gifts, to apply yourself. If you really want to master something, you can't just, be kind of real casual about it. It really has to matter to you, and it did to him. And he was very successful at what he did. So your money or your life, to have or to be. Now, I'm guessing, it's just a guess because I know this is a very spiritual crowd, but I'm just guessing that some of you might be thinking, I made all those decisions. I went to college. I've had a career. Friends, every day that you roll out of the sack, you make decisions about what you're going to do. Whether you're going to be distracted by those myriad of things in our culture, which are a blessing, except when they draw us away from what we're really here for. Whether it's the dance or to be a lawyer or whatever it is, to honor that deepest part of yourself. So your money or your life, to have or to be, we're always making those choices every day. So I invite you to ask yourself, where's my faith? Where am I putting my faith? What do I have in terms of courage that I need to deal with to say, yes, I'm called to do this and I can do it. And I will do it. And have the discipline to stay with it. To know that you're here for a reason. And to stay focused on that. To stay on that path. I can see it in your eyes out there. It's very heartwarming. Yeah. So Wayne Dyer said, doing what you love is the cornerstone of having abundance in your life. So that's a good question to ask yourself. Am I doing what I love? When you get up every day and you're thinking about those things that you want to do today, am I doing what I love? Because true prosperity happens when we live into our calling to be the presence of God right here, right now. Breathe with me. Oh, yes. God bless you, friends.